This video is sponsored by Paranormal Activity Books. The guys behind the best-selling SCP art books also now have a Teespring and Amazon page full of SCP t-shirts and long sleeves and pop sockets. As time goes on, this will be added to with even more merch such as holographic patches and even the SCP art books themselves after the campaign has finished, but only the regular edition ones. If you want the unique limited edition version of the books, those are available and only available from the ongoing crowdfunding campaign. Once that's over, so is the chance to get the limited edition ones. Now, the Amazon merch is only available to the US and Canada for now, however the Teespring store ships worldwide. So if you want some awesome SCP merchandise with a variety of designs featured in the art books, then hit up the Amazon or Teespring store. Link in the description. Good day everyone and welcome back. Today, this month's instalment of the next 50 Dr. Bright restrictions and 25 bonus ones provided by my very generous supporters. This video contains some scenes of violence and swearing. It has been authorised by the following council members and administration staff, and let's begin. Rule number 51. Foundation credit cards or expense accounts are not to be used to purchase pornography. Not even anomalous pornography. Rule number 52. Dr. Bright is not a marital aid and cannot refer to himself as such, especially not on official documents. Rule number 53. Dr. Bright is not the Lord of Rodley Might and is hereby banned from playing Dungeons & Dragons, making use of SCPs to simulate the real danger. Rule number 54. Dr. Bright is not allowed to go to fan conventions, let alone use them as recruitment drives, especially not at furry conventions. Rule number 55. When writing a report, more detail is expected than object class Keter, special containment procedures, expunged, description, expunged, and inventing new security clearances just so nobody can see what you've written is also considered poor form. Rule number 56. Showing Monty Python episodes to SCP-239 was not a wise decision. Please, never try this again with any other reality warping SCP. Rule number 57. For the Emperor is not an acceptable justification for any decision. Rule number 58. My evil twin did it is no longer considered a viable excuse, nor is my good twin did it, considering the implications. Rule number 59. Yes, forum trolls are annoying. No, they don't automatically become D-class personnel. Rule number 60. Not allowed to lace orgasm muffins with X-Lax again. Rule number 61. Dr. Bright is not allowed to send emails with memetic hazards attached, not even when replying to spam. Rule number 62. The ultimate showdown of Ultimate Destiny is not grounds to pit more than 15 combative SCPs, including 682 and Able, against each other. Weeding out some of those angsty teens with attitude problems, however it is. Dr. Bright is not allowed to administer free hugs. Rule number 63. Not allowed to kick SCP-2558-J. Not allowed to play dodgeball with SCP-2558-J. Not allowed to play any type of ball game with SCP-2558-J. Rule number 64. Any proposal which includes the phrase metric fuckload is straight out denied. Rule number 65. No instance of SCP-2558-J should be anywhere near an 05, let alone SCP-2558-JX. Rule number 66. The Foundation motto is Secure, Contain, Protect. Not any of the following. Stab carrion powerfully. Let's use it on 682. Throw the cheese. That's it, you're on Keter duty. Can we put it in 914? Blood makes the grass grow, kill, kill, kill. Fuck trees, I climb clouds, motherfucker. Someone is getting stabbed. Whose hand is that? If all else fails, poop on it. If all else fails, there's always the sun. We need bigger kittens. Society of creepy perverts. Fuck death, war, famine, and pestilence. We've got Clef, Gears, Kondraki, and Bright. Throw D-class at it until it stops. 447 and dead bodies. Two great tastes that taste great together. The FBI are a bunch of pansies. Who wants to see what I can make the president do in public? For the Horde. Science for the science god. Make sure to wipe your feet on 2558. When in doubt, feed it to 682. slapstick, clowns, and puns. Drop the blanket now. Seduction, coitus, and pregnancy. We always need more DACA. Still alive and found the cake. Don't worry, 05 won't ever figure it out. Will it blend? Commies love us. Snap, crackle, and pop. Rule number 67. Dr. Bright is no longer allowed to play Hippocratic Oath chicken with the medical staff. Rule number 68. A full minute of stunned silence means, "My God, what did you do?" Not, "Please continue." Rule number 69. Pranks placed into new staff's desks are not funny because they liquefied in record time. Rule number 70. Attempts to use Foundation radio telescopes to contact omniscient and omnipotent extraterrestrial entities will result in a bill for any damage to local spacetime, including the cost of demoting objects to dwarf planet status. Rule number 71. Despite his doctoral degree, Dr. Bright is not allowed to either prescribe or administer any of the following: enemas, homeopathic remedies, any sort of medication, free hugs, the healing power of laughter, sexual healing, more cowbell. Rule number 72. Dr. Bright is no longer allowed to offer the solution of use more guns to any problem, or get bigger guns. Rule number 73. Despite what he may say and any evidence, no matter how plausible, the SCP Foundation has never and will never be associated with Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, and regardless of what Dr. Bright may say, he is not, and I quote, a real-life wizarding tutor, nor is he a vampire. That was body glitter and bad acting. And despite what the computer file on him may say, he is not Muad'Dib. The spice can flow just fine without him. Rule number 74. The Tamlin House School of Witchcraft and Wizardry is just a plain bad idea. Rule number 75. Yes, empirical evidence is the foundation of science. Yes, blind faith is the death of reason. No, this does not logically imply that anyone is ethically obligated to demonstrate the existence of breasts under laboratory conditions. Rule number 76. If Dr. Bright is ever found under the influence of any recreational substance, he must immediately be contained under level 15 containment. If Dr. Bright is found deliberately getting high to get out of paperwork, he is to be placed in a Type 4 cell and hosed down with cold water from a pressurized hose for no less than 5 minutes. Rule number 77. Cthulhu and Rulia are not valid reasons to send Pandora's box out into the Pacific Ocean in order to capture them. Furthermore, these are not even SCPs, and I will find the person who decided to enter a database file for them. Rule number 78. Dr. Bright is not allowed to upload visual mimetic kill agents to any image board. Well, okay, maybe to 4chan. He'd be doing the gene pool a service. Rule number 79. Dr. Bright cannot change the standard issue D-Class uniform to black pants with a red polo shirt. I see your reasoning, but we just don't want to be associated with Star Trek. Rule number 80. No matter how many times he may claim it, no matter how many uniforms we may confiscate, Dr. Bright is not a ninja, nor has he ever been. Not even if he uses SCP-281 to do it. Rule 81. There are no security codes for Zombie Conga Line, Badass Hat, Vampire Can-Can, Disco Corpse, Intense Homoeroticism, Extreme Crotch Violence, Man Disguised as a Palm Tree, Man with Porn Stash, Kung Fu Rasta, Puppy Eating Monks, Justifiable Homicide of all you damn-ass mother humpers, Bright Family Reunion, find a place to hide and make sure you are leaving an offering of bronze outside your door, Dr. Kondraki Beach Party. Rule 82. Just because Bright is a doctor does not mean he is the Doctor, no matter how many British men he possesses. No, SCP-963 is not proof against this, nor is any structure that results from placing SCP-184 inside of a police call box. Adopting female members of staff and calling them companions is right out. SCP-297 is not a sonic screwdriver. Rule 83. While humour can be an effective way to improve staff morale, it is highly inappropriate to make your mum jokes in the vicinity of SCP-597. Rule 84. Dr. Bright may not classify any researcher, including himself, as a mimetic hazard. Rule 85. Dr. Bright is no longer allowed to accept or use the following as payment for bets: your soul, anyone else's soul, virgin's blood, reproductive organs, SCPs, memories, real or imagined, pieces of your past. I have no idea how that worked with Clef, but apparently he can do it. The islands of Manhattan, beads, firstborn children, secondborn children, red-headed stepchildren, rented mules, gold spun from straw, a child's laughter, a child's tears, virginity, ponies, anyone's grandmother, anyone's grandfather, anyone's sister, any blood relative. Rule 86. No matter how many times he photoshops himself into a picture of SCP-682, and no matter how many Australians he possesses, Bright is not, and never was, the crocodile hunter. Nor does every SCP D-Class really hate it when you jam your thumb up their bum. Rule 87. Dr. Bright is not allowed unsupervised access to SCP-387. Researchers are still trying to figure out how an animate model of 682 was so invulnerable despite only being made of just plastic blocks. Rule 88. Dr. Bright is not allowed to tell new researchers experimenting on SCP-168 to divide by 0, find the square root of -1, or find the last digit of pi using the SCP. Dr. is still comatose, and 168 itself is quite displeased with the event. Rule 89. Dr. Bright is not allowed to use examples from Star Trek when administering Turing tests to artificial intelligences of any sort. Computer hardware does not grow on trees, damn it. Rule 90. Dr. Bright is not allowed to plant SCP-2383-J into science labs. We're still picking up complaints from the office of Stephen Hawking. No, not even for the good of science, or even as science for the science god. Dr. Bright is also not allowed to refer to himself as such either. Rule 91. Dr. Bright is not allowed to use SCP-587 to reenact the locker scene from Men in Black, nor play Godzilla with its inhabitants. Nor is he allowed to set himself up as a god to them. Testing between SCP-786 and SCP-587 is also banned. David and Goliath scenarios are just as harmful to its inhabitants as the Godzilla incident. Rule 92. Dr. Bright is not allowed to show SCP-682 any of the following: The Room, Troll 2, Manos the Hands of Fate, movies considered so bad they're good, movies considered cult classics. Actually, Dr. Bright is just not allowed to show SCP-682 any movies at all. Ever. Rule 93. Dr. Bright is not allowed to claim SCP-014-J has breached containment and then leave a dining fork in the hallway. Rule number 94. Dr. Bright is not O5-J. No such position exists at this time. Rule number 95. Dr. Bright is not allowed to give SCP-239 a copy of any Harry Potter books. What did you do? Rule number 96. Dr. Bright is not allowed to use SCP-141 to give people parking tickets. Rule number 97. Dr. Bright is not allowed to send anything into the past, future, or to alternate dimensions. Rule number 98. Dr. Bright is not allowed to accuse people of being duplicates of himself with the intention of having them terminated, unless they actually are duplicates of himself. Dr. Clef is not allowed to convince people Dr. Bright is a copy of him. Rule number 99. Dr. Bright may not put a cup of orgasm from SCP-294 through SCP-914 on the very fine setting. Dr. Bright may not use SCP-294 to create a cup of mimetic orgasm and use it on worldwide television. Dr. Bright is not permitted to use SCP-294 to create orgasms of any kind, mimetic, sentient, or otherwise. Given the results of requesting a cup of Dear God No, Dr. Bright is no longer allowed to use SCP-294 directly or outside of approved testing. Given that he asked another staff member to request a cup of Explodium from SCP-294 to see what would happen, Dr. Bright is not allowed to ask other staff members to access SCPs for him, no matter how instructive, funny, or helpful the results would be. The only exception to this is SCP-963. Rule number 100. Dr. Bright is not allowed to make, accept, or take a rake off on bets concerning XK class end of the world scenarios. Bonus rules. Rule number 1. Dr. Bright is not allowed to go near SCP-002. Please just stop, Bright. Furniture made of you is getting annoying. Rule number 2. Dr. Bright is not allowed to use SCP-113 on personnel for research purposes. Rule number 3. Dr. Bright is not allowed to release SCP-008 to celebrate the 55th anniversary of Night of the Living Dead, or the 11th anniversary of The Walking Dead, or ever. Rule number 4. Dr. Bright is not permitted to create SCP comics at all. We have already spent far too much money recovering those comics. Rule number 5. Dr. Bright is not allowed to modify SCP-682 in any way so that it looks like a Deathclaw from the Fallout franchise. Rule number 6. Dr. Bright is not allowed to stab, shoot or impale D-Class personnel or in fact anyone with any kind of weapon. Examples include a javelin, swords, a broom, bamboo plants and arrows to name just a few. The excuse I was trying to give them a stand is unacceptable. Rule number 7. Dr. Bright is not allowed to let SCP-049 play the video game Plague Inc. Rule number 8. Dr. Bright can no longer spread rumours about Procedure 110 Montauk. Multiple staff members have requested amnestic treatment because of this. Rule number 9. Dr. Bright is not allowed to use SCP-3660 to turn himself or others into animals, even if you want to be a monkey for the memes. Rule number 10. Dr. Bright is not allowed to give SCP-035 a copy of 50 Shades of Grey in the hopes to hear its professional opinion. There is nothing professional about that book, or SCP-035. Rule number 11. Dr. Bright is not allowed to try and sink SCP-4217 or SCP-2319. Those things have been sunk before. What makes you think another sinking will help? Especially when one is an alien octopus human conglomeration fused to the Bismarck. Rule number 12. Dr. Bright is not allowed to yell, "The exit is this way" into SCP-3008. Rule number 13. Dr. Bright is not allowed unsupervised access to any site shooting range. Previous sessions have seen weapons jammed with various liquids. Dr. Bright may also not remove weapons from any site's armory to tinker with them. Rule number 14. Dr. Bright is not allowed to make hentai out of any SCPs, especially not SCP-239. The last thing we want is the UIU to come knocking. Rule number 15. Dr. Bright is not allowed to attach a photo of SCP-096 to a drone and then send it into SCP-3008. For science is not a valid excuse. Rule number 16. Dr. Bright is not allowed to feed ice cream to SCP-096, even when blindfolded. Rule number 17. Dr. Bright is not allowed to T-pose in front of any SCP to assert dominance. Rule number 18. Dr. Bright is not allowed to use SCP-005 to steal art from the Vatican, the Louvre, or any form of exhibition or museum to redecorate his living quarters. Rule number 19. Dr. Bright is not allowed to turn SCP-096 into a marketable plushie. Rule number 20. Dr. Bright is not allowed any further contact with SCP-2845. The excuse of "but it was deer season" is right out. Rule number 21. Dr. Bright is not allowed to bathe dogs, cats, or any other animal in SCP-006. But they look so cute as puppies, and "puppies are the best though" are not valid excuses. Rule number 22. Dr. Bright is not allowed to fill the killing corridor of SCP-076's containment area with any kind of adhesive tape. Rule number 23. Dr. Bright is not allowed to play online video games with SCP-2662. Rule number 24. Dr. Bright is not allowed to arrange a pool or snooker tournament with the O5 Council and then recruit SCPs to his own team. And rule number 25. Dr. Bright is not allowed to fill an alternate dimension with SCP-3199 eggs just so he can call himself the Egg King. And that concludes this installment. I hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to like and subscribe if you did. Next time will be the SCP summarised for this month. That one will be out in a few days. Be sure to follow all the social media outlets for video updates and check out the SCP Illustrated shop for posters and prints. All the links can be found below. And if you can't wait days and weeks for new videos, then consider supporting the channel via Patreon or becoming a channel member. You get early video access, submit Dr. Bright restrictions, seal the sketches early, get Discord access, get your name in all the videos, and so much more. And thank you to Generals Alert, Rick Trexon, Sam B, JT Walker, Horizons, Dr. Soup, Jax Merrick, Alexander, Number of the East, Albita Soul, Dr. Roan, and Fallen Angel. Big thanks to my council members, Arctoast, Kibara, Lenhox, Captain Core, Hunter Killer, Arctos, Romulus, The Commissar, Kilo, Catclone, Pepperfish, and Tree. And huge thanks to the administrators, Kamana, Viger, Gilbert, Panzer, and Wunderschnell. Thank you all for watching, I will see you all soon, and take care.